Good evening. This is the Northern Sun Experience. Augustana's men's basketball team has had high expectations all year long, and so far the Vikings have lived up to them. Heading into this past weekend, Augie was 19-1 overall, including a perfect 16-0 in conference play. But they were facing their biggest challenge of the year with 2 road games against the other top teams in the conference. We'll start on Friday, where Augie made the trek to Aberdeen to take on Northern State, and the Wolves made a statement right away. Off the cross-court pass, Mac Arvidsson hits the 3. The Wolves are up 9. Back come the Vikings. Alex Richter spins inside for the tough 2, but Augie would have shooting troubles all night long, while the Wolves had the right bounce to their step. Carter Evans slams home this one. Northern State had the right recipe for success as they give #1 Augustana its first conference loss, 90-81. Here's what head coach Paul Sather had to say after the game.
We carried over a pretty simple defensive plan, and I'm really proud of our team, and it was a total team effort, no doubt. A team like this, you're going to have to take everybody. We needed 6,000 plus fans here tonight and everybody else to help, and it all helped tonight.
So how would Augie bounce back against MSU Moorhead in the most anticipated game of the year? Well, early on it was neck and neck as Isaac Sievely gets the dunk, but point guard Jordan Spencer would have his best shooting performance of the entire season, hitting this 3 as part of a career-high 23 on the night. And then Dan Jansen works his magic inside for the hoop plus the foul. Jansen had 25 points and became Augustana's all-time leading scorer in a bounce-back 94-86 victory. And when we come back, former Augustana point guard Jordan Dalton joins us to break down Augustana's 2-game swing.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience, joined by former Augustana point guard Jordan Dalton to break down the weekend that was in NSIC basketball. Jordan, we have to start with your alma mater, and we have to talk about both games because both of them sort of lend to one another exactly how the Vikings did this weekend. Augustana, the Moorhead game on Saturday, that was the one that was really hyped up. Everyone was looking forward to it. But on Friday, they lose at Northern State. A game that maybe some expected, maybe not others expected. Simply put, how did Northern pull off the upset?
Well, I thought Northern did a great job of coming out in the first half and setting a great tone. They shot the ball 62% from the field in the first half and knocked down 9 3-pointers. And so they were able to establish a tone and gain some real confidence in that first half, letting Augie know, hey, this is going to be a battle, and we know we can compete. Like you said, last year in the conference tournament, they go in overtime with Augie. So they know that they can compete. And I thought that first half did a great job of just giving them a lot of confidence to build off of. And I thought the Wolves did a great job of controlling the paint. They only allowed 28 points from Augie inside the paint and forced the Vikings into shooting 34 3-point attempts. And so they really made Augie one-dimensional. And what they were able to do is, since Dan Jansen only had 5 field goal attempts in the whole game, they didn't have to leave shooters to go double down in the post. They could actually get out and contest some of those 3-pointers. So I just thought all around the Wolves had a great game plan. They came out, they executed it to a T, and it never hurts when you shoot the ball the way they did. So kudos to the Wolves on the big win, and hopefully that can kind of propel them throughout the rest of the regular season.
Going off of what you said, Dan Jansen only 5 shot attempts. However, Cody Schilling, 29 points, 22 rebounds, just a monster of a game. Was that a strategic decision to let Schilling do all the work and limit Jansen?
Well, Cody would never get 20 rebounds. Let's put that in. Casey did a great job out there. But, yeah, I thought the Wolves had an interesting dynamic there, maybe laying off Casey a little bit and letting him score. And like you said, he put up 29, 22. And so the kid is a great hard worker and can just score in a variety of ways. But what they did was, once again, when you take away one of those All-American players, you really limit Augie and what they can do, and they just weren't. Augie wasn't able to shoot the ball well enough to overcome Jansen's lack of an offensive effort on Friday night.
So Northern State wins 90-81, and then of course Saturday people are thinking, okay, Augie lost, and now they got the big matchup that everyone's looking forward to, but they rebound, no pun intended, and they win the game against Moorhead 94-86. How were they able to bounce back, and what does that tell you about the team's resiliency?
Yeah, I think #1, they were able to bounce back just by having a renewed sense and focus focus on the defensive end. You know what I mean? They understand that they can't come out and be lackadaisical in that first half because it gives teams those confidence that they can actually play with them the entire game. And so I thought Casey and Jordan Spencer did a great job of setting the tone early in the first half. I had 13 and 12 points respectively. And then Jordan Spencer did a great job of knocking shots down Saturday night. Teams have adjusted to the way they're guarding him because he is such a prolific passer. You know, they were going underneath on ball screens, basically daring him to take shots. Biggest difference from Friday night to Saturday night, he knocked some of those shots down. You know, he said I had a career high of 23 points in that second game against Moorhead. And so I think that's, with him being that type of offensive threat, it kind of limits what defenses can do. But I think what Augie learned this weekend is the same thing they learned last year. On any given night, you can be beat. And when you get into regional playoff times, it only takes one poor evening to kind of end your season early. And I think this was a great wake-up call for Augustana to kind of understand, hey, we have to bring it each and every possession and every time we step on the court because we're going to get the other team's best effort.
You mentioned Jordan Spencer with a career high. A lot of balance for Augustana in that game against Moorhead. Schilling had 26, Jansen had 25, and Spencer had 23. Well, moving on, Augustana with that win over Moorhead, they've already clinched the South Division with 2 weeks to go in the regular season. But the second place team right now, Minnesota State. They won 2 road games this weekend on the North Dakota trip, at UMary, at Minot State. So knowing that the division is out of play, how did the Mavericks look at the rest of the regular season and try and hold on to that number 2 spot?
Well, I think they just need to continue to do a great job of locking down on the defensive end. This weekend was a great example of that. They held both opponents to under 43% shooting over the weekend. And so we talked about it all year long. They have great offensive players for the Mavericks. You know, they're all quick and athletic. And now this weekend they kind of took the turn of using some of that athleticism and that quickness on the defensive end. And so I really thought they did a great job of pressuring and contesting shots and just making life uncomfortable for the entire weekend. Not only that, but we talked about how rebounding is going to be huge for the Mavericks down the stretch because they do play a smaller lineup with some quicker guards, basically putting a 5-guard lineup out there. They did a great job of battling on the defensive boards, only giving up 15 boards all weekend. And so if they're going to have some success and be able to compete with the Augies and the Northerns and the Moorheads, I think they're going to have to continue to battle on the defensive boards. And I thought they did a great job of that this weekend. And so hopefully they can propel that, you know, use that as kind of a learning tool and really turn that corner on the defensive end the rest of the season.
Well, the Mavericks currently second place in the South Division. However, right behind them, the longest winning streak in the conference right now, 5 games, belongs to Winona State. The Warriors got a big win against Minnesota Duluth on Saturday. As I said, Winona just behind Minnesota State, 1 game behind for second place in the division. Why have the Warriors been so good recently?
Yeah, the Warriors' calling card all year has been defensive end, and they've done a great job of just being a physical defensive team. You know, they're limiting teams to just 71 points a game and shooting under 42% all year, you know, which is second best in the conference. So their calling card all year has been the defensive end. You kind of understand that there's going to be some struggles and maybe need a little bit of patience on the offensive end working in a new system. But I think when you have a team that plays that physical and that aggressive on the defensive end, they're going to be in every game they play. And so come tournament time, it's going to be very, very difficult to beat the Warriors because it's going to be a close game. You know it's going to be a tough-fought game, and it's physically exhausting to play against that type of physicality night in and night out for 40 minutes. And so I think the Warriors are doing a great job. They just kind of understand their team identity, and with their intensity on the defensive end, I think they're really going to have a shot to maybe make some noise in the tournament.
Winona State, a team to keep an eye on as we come down the stretch. Well, with 2 weeks remaining in the regular season, specifically this weekend, is there a specific team or a specific game you're looking forward to?
Yep. I probably sound completely biased, but the USF Augie game, I think that's going to be huge. And the first time the two teams played, I think the game was a lot closer than the final score indicated. Yeah, you know, Augie was only up by 1 point at halftime, and I thought in the first half of that first game, University of Sioux Falls was really able to make Augustana feel uncomfortable on the offensive end. They were able to change up their defenses and not let Augie get into a flow. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of prolong that effort and that intensity to stretch it out in the second half this weekend. So the Augie USF game is really one I'm excited to see.
We'll look forward to that. Already a rematch from an earlier game this season, which, as you said, was maybe a little closer than the final score indicated for Augustana and USF. Well, when we come back, Jordan's going to break down the weekend that was in women's hoops.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience, once again joined by Jordan Dalton. Jordan, we're going to talk women's hoops now, and it's clear right now who the two best teams are in the conference. They both have 7-game winning streaks. We're going to start with Winona State, 2 double-digit wins at home this past weekend. Why have the Warriors been working so well right now?
Well, I think the Warriors have been playing so well because they've just been dominant on the defensive end. And you'll sense a theme here is that championship caliber basketball and great defensive effort go hand in hand. And they've dominated the entire conference all season long on the defensive end. There was no difference this weekend. They held both opponents to under 52 points in each game and also held them under 35% field goal shooting. And so every single shot is contested, every single pass is made a little bit tougher. And I think they're just such a tough team to prepare for, because you can't emulate the type of pressure and physicality they have on the defensive end in practice. And so when teams get out there and play against them, it's a whole different world. And I think they just make life so uncomfortable, on the offensive end for their opponents, that it's very, very difficult to get into a rhythm. And right now, I just think they're on a different level. It seems like they're a very focused team and understand what their goals are and are really playing and setting the bar as far as expectations on the defensive end in the NSIC right now.
You mentioned their defensive prowess, holding opponents to just 53.9 points per game. That's tops in the NSIC. The next closest, Northern State, at 60 points, so a nearly 6-point difference between the 1 and 2 defensive teams in the conference. Well, the other team with a 7-game win streak is Sioux Falls, also 2 wins at home, including a tough game against Minnesota Crookston on Friday. USF is now 20-4 overall, averaging more than 75 points per game. What makes that offense for the Cougars so strong?
Well, number one, they're so prolific from behind the arc. They've made over 200 three-pointers on the season, and they have multiple weapons that can really hurt you behind the three-point line. And so what that does is that gives them the ability to score points in bunches. And so it allows them to really stretch games out in a very short time period. So in a 2 or 3 minute span, a 5-point game can turn to a 15-point game and kind of become out of reach real quickly. And on the flip side of that, they're never out of any games because they can score at such a high volume. And so I think they are just a great three-point shooting team. And like I said, that weapon really keeps them in all games. And they take care of the basketball. They have a 1.4 assist-to-turnover ratio, which is best in the conference. And so each and every time down the court, they're getting not only a look, but a good look at makeable shots. And so I think when you combine, the prolific shooting from outside with the fact that they move the ball so well, I think they're just a juggernaut on the offensive end right now. And like I said, I feel like them and Winona are just kind of on a crash course to another great game, hopefully, come tournament time.
Well, you mentioned the offense and you mentioned USF. 20-4 overall. They've improved their win total each of the 4 seasons they've been in the NSIC, so kudos to Travis Traphagen. Warriors and Cougars right now battling in that South Division. In the North Division, Northern State, Minnesota State Moorhead tied with a 13-5 record. Both split their games this weekend. Of those 2 teams, which one looks poised at the end of the season to take that North Division crown? Yeah,
I still like Minnesota State Moorhead. I just feel like their consistency all year has really been something to hang their hat on. They haven't lost back-to-back games the entire season. And so you can tell they really take, when they have a tough game and maybe have a loss, take those learning opportunities and get better. And we talked about it. Great teams are always consistent. And so I think the Dragons have just been consistent as far as their defensive prowess on the boards as well. They do a great job of limiting teams to one shot, averaging 30 defensive rebounds a game, which is tops in the NSIC. And so they're really efficient on the defensive end as far as they're always playing fresh, because they're typically only playing for 30 seconds. And it puts a lot of pressure on the opposing team's offense to really get good looks, because you're only going to get one look at the basket. And so because the Dragons have been so effective and so consistent on the defensive end, I really look for them to make a push in the last couple of weeks here.
So Jordan likes the Dragons over the Wolves for that North Division. Well, same question on the men's side. Now on the women's side, a specific team or a specific game you're looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, I think St. Cloud has a huge opportunity this weekend. Right now, they're 1 game out of first place in their division, and they play Northern and Minnesota State Moorhead. And so it's a great opportunity to take a big leap into first place in their division. And so they're at home for both games. And so it'll be interesting to see if the Huskies can really bounce back and show that they are one of the upper echelon teams. Like I said, with a homestand like this, it's a great opportunity to really cement yourself as one of the top dogs in the conference, and especially take control of that division. And so we talked about it as you're coming down to the last couple games of the regular season. Seeding is going to be very important come tournament time. So I really think they can do a great job and do themselves great service if they can get a sweep at home this weekend.
So the Huskies definitely a team to keep an eye on this weekend. Thank you very much, Jordan Dalton. Well, when we come back, highlights from around the NSIC in wrestling and Minnesota State in our Under the Northern Sun feature.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back. St. Cloud State Wrestling is on a roll right now, and they have the national prestige to back it up. The #2 team in the country has won 8 duels in a row, and they were looking to make it 9 at Minnesota State on Saturday. And they would do it on the strengths of their #1 rated wrestlers. First, it's Austin Gorgian taking down Malcolm Allen at 285. And then it's last year's national champion Tim Prescott getting 2 quick points at 125 in an eventual major decision. St. Cloud State tops Minnesota State 30-5. Upper Iowa, #8 in the rankings, hosting Augustana on Sunday. Malik Williams eventually gets the pin on Duncan Stobner at 125 for some quick points for the Peacocks. And then at 133, Matt Paulus uses his legs for the quick takedown of Morgan Engbrecht, and he eventually would get the pin as well. The Peacocks knock off the Vikings 26-12. Well, now it's time to shine the spotlight on one of our member schools with a feature we like to call Under the Northern Sun. Tonight, it's Minnesota State in Mankato.
Hi, I'm Coley Reese, and I'm a member of the Minnesota State softball program. We are so excited to have you all along with myself and Alfonso Bruno, who is a Maverick wrestler, to show off our beautiful campus here in Mankato.
With over 15,000 students, Minnesota State is the largest school in the Minnesota State colleges and state university system. We'd like to give you a little tour of some of the tremendous facilities here on campus.
Opened in 1962, Blakesley Stadium serves as home to the Maverick football program, and since 1966 has served as the summer training camp of the Minnesota Vikings. One of the unique features is the berm, located in the south end of the stadium. 7,000 seats, great sightlines, and the best natural grass surface in the upper Midwest.
Opened in the fall of 2000, Taylor Center is named after one of our most famous alums, Glenn Taylor. Our men's and women's basketball, wrestling, and women's volleyball programs call this beautiful 4,800-seat facility home. Taylor Center also houses our 7,326-foot state-of-the-art weight room. And when you graduate from MSU, Taylor Center is where you receive your diploma.
Memorial Library resources consist of approximately 1.3 million volumes, over 68,000 periodicals, and over 350 electronic databases. Opened in 1967, an addition was added in 1992, which include a tile art display entitled 44th Parallel.
Opened in the fall of 2001, Meyer Fieldhouse features an 8-lane NCAA sanctioned track with space for 1,000 spectators. MSU hosted the 2008 and 2012 NCAA Division II Indoor Track and Field Championships here. Unique features include the 100-yard-long mural depicting the history of our track and field programs.
Opened in 2008, Julius Sears Residence Hall houses 600 students on 4 floors. All rooms, kitchens, and lounges feature central air conditioning and have cable and both wired and wireless internet. In the late summer, this is the home to the Minnesota Vikings at training camp.
One of the newer buildings on campus is the 67,000 square foot Ford Hall, opened in 2008 and serves as the home of the Chemistry and Geology Department and the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology.
Opened in 1995, Verizon Wireless Center serves as the home to Minnesota State men's and women's hockey programs. With seating for nearly 5,000 spectators, the building is currently undergoing renovations to Maverick locker rooms, athletic training and equipment rooms, and coaches' offices.
Thank you all for joining us today. If you want more information about the wonderful things that are happening on campus, please be sure to check out our website located at msumavericks.com.
When we come back, it's DB's Picks, my top 5 plays of the past week in the NSIC.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. It's time for DB's Picks, my top 5 plays of the past week in the NSIC. At number 5, we head to Minot, where Minnesota State's John Fuqua takes flight on the Beavers. Off the steal and in transition, Fuqua goes up, gets the bump and the bucket. Check it out again. Fuqua takes off near the left elbow of the free throw line and hangs in the air just long enough to get 3 the hard way. Fuqua's going to have another chance to impress you, but for now his first three-point play is number 5. For number 4, MSU Moorhead's Tyler Vaughn makes the best of a bad situation. On the fast break, he trips but somehow gets it to Arroyo Edwards for the easy bucket against Wayne State. We'll slow this one down, and even as he's falling down, Vaughn finds his teammate for the layup. This trip for 2 comes in at number 4. For number 3, we stay in Moorhead to watch more Dragon magic. Off the pick and roll, Tanner Kretschmann finds Isaac Sievely inside for the two-handed flush. Sievely's screen was more of a stop and go, but that doesn't make it any less effective, as he slams home 2 of his game-high 23 for play number 3. At number 2, it's John Fuqua, the sequel. You've already seen one of his three-point plays, but how about one where he's cutting inside, falling, and throwing it high in the air at the same time? This ridiculous hoop plus the foul was indicative of Minnesota State's evening, as they completed a weekend sweep and put a firm hold on second place in the South Division, thanks to plays like the one at number 2. But our number 1 shows a lot of bounce in the step of Northern State. Bo Freeze to Darren Paterka to Carter Evans for the slam. 2 bounces on the floor, 1 off the floor, as the Wolves sky toward a huge upset of number 1 Augustana. Northern State takes home the NSIC's first conference victory over the Vikings, as well as the number 1 play of the past week in the NSIC. Once again, a thank you to all of our NSIC member schools for their time, video, and contributions to this week's show. We'll be back right here next week with yet another Northern Sun Experience.